Today we begin the chapter 2 of Ramakatha Rasavahini, fondly written by Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Please write down and notice the lines properly and take down the notes if you can from this blessed epic. So let's begin. In the immaculate pure solar dynasty was born the highly mighty, the far famed, the strong armed, the intensely loved and revered ruler Khatvanga. His rule showered supreme bliss on the immense population under his throne and persuaded them to pay homage to him as if he were himself God. He had a one and only named Dilipa. Dilipa grew up shining in the glory of knowledge and virtue. He shared with his father the joy and privilege of guiding and guarding the people. He moved among his subjects, eager to know their joys and sorrows, anxious to discover how best to relieve pain, distress, intent on their welfare and prosperity. The father watched his son grow straight and strong, virtuous and wise. He sought a bride for him so that after marriage he could place part of the burden of the scepter on his shoulders. He sought her in royal houses far and wide, for she must be a worthy companion for the prince. At last, the choice fell on the Magdan princess Sudakshina. The wedding was celebrated with unsurpassed pomp and exhilaration by the people of the court. Sudakshina was endowed with all womanly virtues in ample measure. She was saintly, simple, and a sincere votary of her husband. She served her lord and poured love on him as if he were her very breath. She walked in his footsteps and never deviated from the path of righteousness. Dilipa too was the very embodiment of righteousness. As a consequence, he saw that neither want nor disappointment affected him in the least. He held fast to the ideal and practices of his father as far as the administration of the empire was concerned, so he could slowly and without any dislocation take upon himself the full responsibility of administration. Thus he was able to give his father rest in his old age. Khatvanga rejoiced within himself, contemplating the great qualities of his son and observing his skill, efficiency, and wisdom. Some years passed. Then Khatvanga directed the court astrologers to select an auspicious day and hour for Dilipa's coronation, and on the day fixed by them, he installed Dilip as the monarch of the realm. From that day, Dilipa shone forth as the lord and sovereign of the empire, which stretched from sea to sea with the 7 islands of the ocean. His rule was so just and compassionate, so much in conformity with the injunctions laid down in the scriptures, that rains came as plentifully as needed, and harvest was rich and profuse. The entire empire was green and glorious, festive and full. The land was resonant with the sacred sound of the Vedas recited in every village. The purifying rhythm of the mantras chanted in the Vedic sacrifices performed throughout the land. Every community lived in concord with all the rest. Nevertheless, the king was apparently overcome by a mysterious anxiety. His face was losing affluence. The lapse of a few years didn't improve matters. Despair wrote his deep line firmer on his brow. One day he revealed the cause of his gloom to the queen. Darling, we have no children, and sadness is overpowering me as a consequence. I am even more affected when I realize that this Ishwarku dynasty will terminate with me. Some sin that I committed must have brought about this calamity. I am unable to decide how to counter this malign dynasty. I am eager to learn from our family precept, the sage Vashishta, how I can win the grace of God and make amends from the sin. I am very much agitated by grief. What do you suggest as the best means to win grace? Sudakshina did not take time even to think on the answer. Lord, this same fear had entered my mind too and caused me grief. I had not given expression to it. I smothered it in the mind, for I cannot, I know, reveal my fears without being prompted by you, my Lord. I am ever willing and eager to support and follow implicitly what appeals to you, the best ways of overcoming our sorrow. Why should there be any delay? Let us hasten to consult revered Vashishta. Dilipa ordered the chariot to be brought for the pilgrimage to the preceptor's hermitage. He directed that no escort or courtier should accompany them. In fact, he drove the vehicle himself and reached the simple cottage of his beloved Guru. At the sound of the chariot, the hermit on the outskirts of the hermitage went into the cottage and made known to their master the arrival of the ruler of the empire. Vashishta showered his blessings on him, and as soon as he saw him near the door and lovingly inquired about the health and welfare of his subjects and his kith and kin, Sudakshina fell at the feet of sages consort, the famed Arundhati, embodiment of all virtues that adorn the noblest of women. Arundhati lifted her in her arms and fondly embraced her, prodding her with questions about her welfare. She led her into the inner part of the hermitage. As befitted the monarch of the realm, Dilipa asked Vashisht whether the rituals and sacrifices the ascetics had to perform as a part of the cultural tradition were being carried out without any handicap, whether the anchors were experiencing any difficulties in acquiring food and carrying on their services, studies, and spiritual practices, and whether their sylvan campuses were terrorized by wild beasts. He was yearning, he said, to make their studies and spiritual exercises progress well without any distraction due to adverse environment and counter influences. When the king and queen entered the cottage and sat down with the assembled sages and seekers, Vashishta suggested to the latter to move into their own hermitage and asked the king why he had come accompanied by the queen and no one else. The king told his preceptor the nature and the depth of his grief and prayed for the only remedy that could remove it, namely his grace.